Hi, it's DavidBoje, and trying to figure out how to get myself right side up here. There we are. Welcome. I'm going to show you Lake Caballo in Bio, New Mexico. I hope you can hear the waves of the water. You see the mountains on the other side. A lot of big blackbirds in the distance. So, all right, let's talk about it. Why can't we have conversations anymore? The reason is we've changed our assumptions about the meaning of the world. And if we go back to the Greek time before Christianity, before Socrates, Pythagoras, as my friend Jerry McCullough done the research, time when matriarchal societies and patriarchal societies coexisted. By the time of Aristotle and Plato, the patriarchy had taken over matriarchy. And I don't want to make this a long presentation, but what happens is our way of understanding and knowing existence in the world changed. And we've still been struggling with this way of understanding gender. I'll pause and let you see the world a little bit. Here's a kind of a buoy that floats when the lake is a little higher. This time of year, sucking up a lot of water out of the Rio Grande River, just a little ways away here, probably no more than a mile. And this lake actually is from damming up the Rio Grande River, but it's drained during the year, during this time of the summer, to feed the crops in the area, mainly pecan trees. And they could be growing them with drip systems, but they're not. Let's get back to the topic. All right. We were talking about ways in which um, we've kind of got fenced in the feminine ways of knowing by the time we get out of Greek culture. And the male oriented ways of knowing take over. Now, they do so in the rise of Christianity with the way that humans are put at the apex, just below the divine, in the image of God, as it's said. And in Genesis, it was Adam, and the rib of Adam was Eve. From there, what happens? It's goes along as a hierarchy of divine, human, mainly man, woman, then various animal species below that, various plant species below that, the cellular, the molecular, the atom. And now we have the subatomic, the quantum particle wave duality. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This hierarchy, this pyramid with divine human at the apex, stayed in force for many, many, many hundreds of years. And as you know, it's still in force in many communities in the United States. Now we're going to go further and look at how Charles Darwin, developed his theory of evolution. And the evolution was that certain variations got selected and retained first, survival of the fittest. Variations could be random, and species lost their strict classification by attributes because species started to turn into other species. Monkeys into apes, into humans, as Darwin defines it. This upset the whole Christian hierarchical thing with the divine at the apex, because you didn't need the divine if random variations could get selected and the deciding formula was survival. So to be fittest for a changing environment, a variation could get selected and retained because it enhanced the survival of a particular species, evolving into a mutation of that species. Notice that with evolution, there's no spiritual force here. It's not matriarchal, it's not patriarchal. It's just random variations selected and retained in the survival of the fittest. And this becomes the model for modern biology, modern botany, so animals and plants studies. And what happens next is this notion of survival in the fittest leaves the biological species, the botany, plant species, and enters the zone of the cultural. And strong men leaders survive, and democratic republics survive, but they can't survive too well beyond the city-state because there's no technology of conversations. And this is a topic about why we don't have conversations among people that disagree about the nature of existence, our reality, our world, our cosmos. So if we look at that, people try to enter conversations and they can only succeed in echo chambers of like-minded folks that subscribe to, let's look at what we've got so far. Matriarchy. Another echo chamber, patriarchy. Another echo chamber, Christian divine intervention into the world, which gives humans the right to exploit the world as a resource of dead matter. So life of the humans matters, but all other life is reduced to Newtonian mechanic matter. And the world existence runs on clock time, and the universe is a clockwork. So I hope you're seeing the wonderful scenery here in New Mexico. If you're leaving the lake, where those mountains there have gold, silver, abandoned mines there. A little north of us is Crystal Caves. Thought you might enjoy knowing that. So you go to another echo chamber, and it's the evolutionists saying we don't need God. God is dead. God was a fantasy in the first place. And to see George Carlin and his views on God. And then there's another chamber, though, another echo chamber of conversation that's polite and congenial, just like the other ones. If you have all like-minded people, not that difficult. And that's what Vine Deloria, Leroy Little Bear, the Maori, so many different indigenous groups around the world forming clans and tribes. And then becoming Christianized, losing their indigenous ways. So now we have another split in the Iowa indigenous ways of knowing, called Iowa, as opposed to the Western ways of knowing, call it Wewa. Now, what I've tried to introduce here is there's so many different Western ways of knowing, from the patriarchal, the apex hierarchy, humans over plants and animals and atoms, etc., and the Christian notion that is, and then evolution, that the Christians become divided as science pursues one model or another, mostly the evolution model. But challenging the evolution model, challenging the Christian model, is an indigenous way of knowing here and there, not everywhere. Where all life is relationship to my brothers and sisters, plants, animals, molecules, cellular. And now we start to see that there's a strong overlap of this relatedness to the notion of energy waves being spiritual. The spiritual energy waves is a way of indigenous ways of knowing, but it's also the new quantum physics. And now we have another overlap, but also a separation. There are a few quantum physicists that say that there's spirit of all life, but there are more quantum physicists with a variety of approaches to what is quantum physics. And in that variety, no spirit, just wave particle. Now, what did the feminists do? Go back all the way, as Jerry McCullough wants us to do, to the notion of the feminine, the matriarchal. What was Pythagoras doing when he was there at the end of the matriarchal equality with patriarchal, before patriarchal completely almost took over just about everywhere? Only a few matriarchs remain today. You can go to tellsittrue.com and see some of the artwork about this. And actually a slideshow you can download if you want that kind of covers some of this material today. So it's called vital materialism, and it's a rekindling of the matriarchal feminine before Aristotle, Plato, before Socrates, some of it remaining in the time of Pythagoras. That's what Jerry McCullough focuses on, Pythagoras. So if we have what she calls the Chora, Chora, with a kind of vibrant materialism that's also, for Pythagoras, the acoustic resonances, the acoustic vibrations of sound, of music. Now, Jerry carries this to the point of fascinating idea that this rock I'm holding here is vibrating. I, as a human, just can't hear it. All these stones together, all these bushes, those mountains, the sky, that sun. I won't put your face in the sun, okay? It's all vibrant matter, but it's also sound waves of vital materials. In other words, all life is vibrant materialism, from the cellular, Myra J. Hurd, to the semiotic discursive, material discursive, right, of Donna Haraway, to Karen Barad's vibrant materialism, the feminist materialisms that I'm talking about now. The agential realism, where all of these life forms are agential and all of mattering is agential, and the mattering dash discourse. So this is why we can't have conversations anymore, because we get in these echo chambers only with the people we agree with. We can't have civilized debate, and the strong men leaders are taking over one nation after another nation after another nation. A threat to kind of the Greek notion of democracy that was in the city-state, and made even worse by the formation of cults through the technology of social media, Google, YouTube, that I'm on now. I hope I'm not creating another cult. And then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and so on. Truth Social. All of these platforms have algorithms that are, the longer you stay with us, the more we're going to give you that kind of media to make you stay longer. And that's the name of the addiction of social media. I recognize my own addiction of making YouTubes, of scouring social media. And there's a slant, a bias in social media that comes at your screen toward what echo chamber are they surmising that you're a part of, and producing that social media. But also they've noticed that hate, blame, divisiveness, shame, sexism, racism, evolutionaryism, patriarchalism, all of these hierarchic dominance over are the new survival of the fittest. And it's taking us in a post-Darwinian way that we call post-truth, because it's not about truth anymore. It's about echo chamber validation. So what do we do? Well, turn off the YouTube. That would be one. Turn off the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, social truth, whatever that is, and whatever your addiction. And take a sabbatical. Take a couple of weeks off. Ask yourself, does that change your life? Does that change your view of life? Take a walk in nature and see the dynamics of life. Then Talk to a vital materialist. Talk to an evolutionist. Talk to a Christian, Judeo-Christian, a Muslim. Talk to a science freak. And come out with actively listening, that you actively listen to the other and got out of your echo chamber. That is scary. Getting out of one's echo chamber is scary. It takes courage. And not many people have the skills to listen. That's why tellsittrue.com, we are building conversations. Same at truestorytelling.org. Same at Enthinkment Circle, at Enthinkment, ENTHINKMENT.com. Same on the quantum-storytelling.com. Same on DavidBoje.com. My whole life is about creating conversations among people who disagree and having the courage to stand up with my friends, for example, in the MAGA movement, and listening to them about they're coming to take our bullets away, et cetera, et cetera. And moving to some common ground, like you're a person who loves nature. I'm a person who loves nature. We like to be out in nature. We used to ride our Harley Davidsons together. I made you a target out of metal in my blacksmith shop for you to practice your shooting, et cetera, et cetera. Build those kind of compatibilities before you get into assaulting differences. That's my recommendation. It's why we can't have conversations anymore. Take a walk in nature. Turn off your YouTube right now. And I'm thanking you very, very much. Bye. All right.